This is probably one of the greatest advices that I'm going to give you. Please do not. Hi, so you are a medical student or you're aspiring to go to medical school. Either way, one day you're going to come across something that's called an oral exam. Now, this oral exam is very important because it accounts for 10% of the possible 100% you can get in each of your fundamental courses. And in this video, I'm going to give you 10 do's and don'ts in order to assure success in your orals. Hi, if you're new to my channel, my name is Ibrahim. I am a third-year medical student in Nigeria, and please, if you're new to my channel, I'm just gonna ask just one favor. I promise, just one favor. Please, if you could just help me hit that subscribe button, please. I'm using the special word, okay? Please, just please, pretty please, with ice cream. I'm just joking. Just please, if you could just help me hit that subscribe button, and we can get into this video, okay? Please. Before you even get into the exam or even come to school on the day of the exam, you need to sleep well before the exam, because you need to be well rested. You need your brain to be operating at an efficient capacity, and you need to look smart, okay? Your eyes need to be really sharp and all that, or else you're gonna be looking like really sleepy the day before the exam. You don't actually need to read that much for your orals, because you've already read that much for your essay and your OBJ, and the questions that are basically asked are basic things that you're supposed to know. They basically just want to know if for the past year that you've been coming to class, you actually know what you've been doing, okay? So sleep well before the exam. Oral exam is totally different from your standard and your EJ. So what you want to do is, number one, you're going to be standing in front of the examiner, and the examiner is going to be asking you questions, and you're going to be graded on the spot. So the first number one thing you want to ensure that is on point is your dressing. The dressing is basically the same for your lab. You're supposed to have your lab coat on, your boots on, and your name tag on also. And basically there's a little bit of an addition for our males. You're supposed to have your necktie on also. If you haven't seen that particular segment I did in my first video, I'm gonna leave a link to it right up here. Is it here or here? I don't know. So I'm gonna leave a link up to it if you want to see that video. So your dressing is supposed to be on point. And for our Muslim sisters, you're supposed to have your hijab supposed to be underneath your lab coat. You're supposed to have your name tag also, and also your boots on. And for our Christian sisters, you're supposed to have also your lab coat on, your necktie on. The basic necessity of this is you're supposed to look smart, like a reasonable human being. So when the examiner sees you, he's gonna be like, okay, this guy looks good, this guy looks like he knows what he's doing, okay? Now, if you're like me and you love wearing your peacock, I am so sorry, peacocks are not allowed in your oral exam. It's the same way that they're not allowed in the lab, they're also not allowed in your oral exam. And also for our males, your hair is you're supposed to get a haircut and reduce your hair to a reasonable level. And also, if you have a beard, I don't have a beard, but if you have a beard, you're supposed to trim it down to a reasonable level. The key is to look smart. Let's say you are all dressed up and you just got into the exam room and the examiner is sitting down. Please, this is probably one of the greatest advices that I'm going to give you. Please do not sit down unless you are told to do so. Sometimes it's not that we're being disrespectful or anything, it's just sometimes we're anxious and nervous about the entire experience, so we tend to forget. These are not your friends, okay? These are your lecturers. Some of them are professors, some of them are doctors, so you give them that full level of respect. I usually like to stand with like one hand behind my back and be like, good morning, sir. So you wait for them to tell you to sit down before you do so. Please, this is probably the greatest advice that I'm going to give you. Do not sit down unless you're told to do so. Calmness, okay? The examiners are not there to scare you or do anything to you. They're just there to see if for the past year that you've been coming to class, you know what you're doing. You know that you were studying medicine, okay? The questions are basic. There's no need to stress yourself. Just calm down and answer them to the best of your ability. remember to breathe. I know it sounds somehow, but you can actually forget to breathe and you can start doing something else. I remember my first oral question was in biochemistry. She asked me, define a carbohydrate. I was like, carbohydrates are polyhydroxy, carbohydrate are polyhydroxy, carbohydrate. I started stammering. So what I did was I went back like this and I took a deep breath. And then I answered the question. I was like, carbohydrates are polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones or compounds which yield them on hydrolysis. So remember to breathe. We've talked about remaining calm and remembering to breathe. So now we're going to talk about how do you overcome these challenges before your exam. The answer is just you have to practice. And how do you practice? You have to practice with discussions. I've talked about discussions a lot in most of my videos. Discussions are very important, in which you sit down with your classmate, even one or two or three of you, and you pick a topic. Okay, this one talks about the definition, this one talks about the courses, this one talks about the branches. If it's anatomy, it talks about branches and all that. And with that, you get confident in discussing and also talking to another person about a particular topic, which will also help you when it comes to your oral exam. So you gotta remember, practice with discussions. Okay, start with what you know. Let's say, for example, you're given like a compound question like in anatomy. I remember one of my questions was actually my examiner. She's one of my subscribers here on YouTube. Hi Ma, I hope you're doing well. So the question was, discuss the embryology, histology, and the gross anatomy of the entire, I think, human GIT or something like that. I've forgotten how she actually phrased it. So what I did was, I didn't know a lot on the histology, but I knew a lot on the embryology and then a little bit more on gross anatomy. So what I did was, I picked on the embryology. I started discussing and I discussed. And then I came to gross anatomy and I started discussing, and then I came to histology, but I didn't know that much. So when I started discussing, I went a little bit forward a little. She now said, okay, it's okay. So I started with what I knew at that time. And by the time I came to what I did, I wasn't that strong in the particular field that I wasn't that strong in. She now said, okay, let's move to the next question. So make sure you start with what you know. Okay, whenever you're given a question, this relates more to anatomy. You're given a question in which you're asked to list something. You should always tell them in what order you're listing them, whether it is from medial to lateral, or from lateral to medial, or from superficial to deep, or deep to superficial. Okay, that shows them that you actually know what you're doing. And in case of you're asked a joint, the first thing you should do is tell them what type of joint it is. Okay, that is the most important thing in a question pertaining to a joint. Okay, make sure, no matter how little you know on a question, make sure you say you don't know. Maybe after you say the little that you know, they might just tell you, no, it's okay, let's move to the next question. I've said this a lot. They just want to know whether you actually know what you're doing. Okay, I want to talk about how important your practicals are when it comes to your orals. I remember for my physiology orals, I measured my examiner's blood pressure. I was asked, how do you determine the blood group of a blood sample? Some of my colleagues have been taken in anatomy, they've been taken to the cadaver and asked to identify a particular structure. I've been given a bone to explain what it is. So please take your practical seriously when it comes to your orals. Try and remember the things that you learned in the lab, or even a few days before your orals. If the lab is open, you can go there and ask the lab technician there to give you some of these things so you can practice. Also with your discussions, in order to overcome your shyness or your nervousness. Okay, it makes you get comfortable with talking to people about different things, like a question also. Okay, we've come to the end, and I know I said I want to talk about 10 things, but there's just one very important, probably the most important of all the points that I've mentioned here. This is a tip that occupies over 90% of your entire medical school, and it's prayer. Okay, prayer is very, very important. It is like the best thing you could ever do for yourself in medical school. Usually before my orals, Isa is the guy who enters before me. he usually texts his parents to pray for him before he goes into his orals, and it's very important. Trust me, I have a lot of stories, but I'm not going to waste your time. Just trust me when I tell you this. It is very important. And immediately he enters his orals, I usually pick up my phone and I call my mom and my dad, and I tell them I'm about to enter my orals. Please, I need your prayers, okay? And they pray for me. If I can't get them on the phone, I send them a text. When they see it, they pray for you. Maybe you're already inside the exam, okay? So prayer is very, very important. Please pray and pray and pray. Okay, so if you put into action all the tips that I have given in this video, I promise you, I assure you, you will be successful in your oral exam, and that 10% is going to go a long way in helping you get the 50 max. That's the pass mark, which is 50, in order for you to pass your exam. Okay, so we've come to the end of this video, and I did give a lot of tips when it comes to oral exam. So please, if you did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, a big thumbs up. And also, please, if you did enjoy this video, I'm gonna say it again, I'm using the special word, please subscribe to my channel, okay? Please, pretty please subscribe to my channel. And if you're a medical student and you have other tips that I have not mentioned in this video, please feel free to leave them in the comment box. If you have even funny stories about your orals, we all have different funny stories about our orals, so please leave them all in the comment section. I would love to hear from all of you. Please, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.